I just realized I kind of look like a floating head right now with this white on white happening. All right, so today we're in natural lighting because I wanted you to really be able to see my skin, because I'm gonna be sharing with you guys how I fill in my pores and really just give a soft kind of blurred effect overall to the skin. This is a full base routine, so we're doing primer, foundation, everything. I'm sharing all my tips. So I hope you guys enjoy this video and find it helpful. If you do, you can give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. I do lots of foundation and base related videos, so if you wanna see any similar kind of videos, I'll link my Foundation Friday playlist down below in the description box, but let's get into it. All right, so we are real zoomed in, super up close in natural lighting. It is a little bit brighter on this side of my face, just FYI, because of the lighting right now outside. So my skin type is normal to dry. I definitely get pretty dry in the winter, but right now in the summer, it's been more on the normal side. So for SPF, I did already put on the Sun Killer Perfect Water Essence. This is from YesStyle. You can get it for around 10 bucks. It's currently one of my favorites, and I like to use that one especially if I know I'm gonna be going in with kind of more mattifying products, whether it's foundation or the pore filling primers, whatever it is. I'll go in with a glowier SPF, but if I'm gonna be going in with a really dewy foundation, just to kind of tone down the pores and tone down the glow, I have a couple other options for you, or if you have oilier skin. This is one of the best SPFs I've ever found. It is tinted, but it gives the prettiest, just like almost filter, slightly blurred, soft kind of look. It's a Bliss Block Star you can get at Target. I'll link everything I'm talking about down below. This one is very waterproof. And then the Supergoop Unseen Sunscreen. This is basically like a primer. So if you want kind of like a primer that is a bit blurring and an SPF in one, you can give this one a go. So this is as up close as I can get, but here are my pores before. So I wouldn't say I have like the most insane large pores, but they're there and I like to blur them out. And this isn't just for pore filling. I'm gonna show you how to kind of get an overall soft blurred kind of look. A lot of my texture is on my forehead and around here, and I'm not gonna be going into skincare in this video, but that's one of the best things you can do to kind of combat those things. But today I do also have some small little breakouts like under the skin ones around here, so we'll see how all the products look on top of that as well. So a couple years ago, or maybe last year, my favorite pore blurring primer from Revlon was discontinued. It was the one in the pink bottle. The new version is not the same. If you can still find the pink bottle, the pore reducing primer, pick that up. It's amazing and it's from the drugstore. But since then, I've been going pore filling, pore blurring primer crazy, testing so many. I mean, I've got a whole primer bin, but these are just some of the kind of pore smoothing, blurring primers that I've been trying. But I'm at the point where I have my favorites. I know which ones I want to recommend to you guys. So to start off, there's a difference between pore filling primers and then just overall blurring primers. So if you're trying to get that just super soft, you know, blurred kind of look, I recommend doing both because you can apply a different primer right here to fill in your pores, or wherever you have large pores. Sometimes it's down here. Wherever you have the largest pores, you'll want to use one of these that I'm going to talk about. And then for the rest of the face, I'm going to do something else. But my top three pore filling primers are the Dermablend Hydro Blur Primer. I've been using this for years now and I feel like this is so underrated. It does give you that blurred kind of look, and this one you can bring kind of out on different parts of your face, but these other two I wouldn't recommend doing that just because of the texture. This is the 3CE Back to Baby Pore Velvet Primer. You can get this for around 15 bucks on YesStyle or 30 bucks on Amazon, so definitely want to pick it up on YesStyle if you can wait that long. YesStyle does have long shipping times. But this one is a thicker kind of product, and I did try this in a first impressions video and I wasn't like immediately in love. Since then, I've really found the best way to apply this, which is you want to use a little bit. It's the thickest consistency out of all of them I'm going to talk about, and you just want to really like use a lot of pressure and super press it into your pores, and that's how you'll get the best effect. Today I'm going to use the Haley's Beauty Primer because this one is one that I reach for most often, and it's 10 bucks. You can get it on sale for 10 bucks. The Haley's Beauty Refine Prime Foundation Primer. By the way, this video is not sponsored by anyone. I do work with Haley's Beauty on other videos, but I'm using this one because I genuinely love it and I think it's one of the best. So I'm going to use about that much. This is going to be too much. You could use like less than that, but I'm going to go ahead and apply on this side to start. And again, with this one, you do want to really press because the goal is to actually fill in and blur out those pores. So you want to make sure you're actually filling in the pores, don't just kind of like glide it over. It has a very soft, silky consistency. It's not too silicone-y. Foundation just applies really nicely over top because of the consistency of this, and it just gives a really soft kind of appearance. And this one I can use between my eyebrows here as well, but this side of my face, my pores are a bit larger Actually, I don't know, it kind of depends. Today, this side, they're larger, but sometimes it's this side. So because today my pores are pretty emphasized right here, I'm gonna take the leftover product and blend it right between my eyebrows. And you can see this does slightly mattify. It's not a dry kind of matte, so if you have dry skin, I wouldn't be too scared of this one, especially if you put on a moisturizing product underneath, like your SPF or moisturizer. If I have any leftover, I'll kind of just blend it around my smile lines because I tend to crease right here. Also, probably my fourth place for the pore filling primers is the Makeup Forever Pore Minimizer. This one is very similar, fills them in. It's actually super similar, I would say, to the Haley's Beauty, just in consistency and the way it performs and everything. So now I like to go in with a blurring product for the rest of my face, and I'm gonna be avoiding the areas that I already primed, just because sometimes if you kind of layer primers, especially with the pore filling primer, it can pill or just weird stuff can happen when you go to put your foundation over top. But for an all over blur and just kind of softening effect, I have two different products to recommend. One's drugstore, one's high-end. I talked about this in a recent favorites video. It's the Shiseido Synchro Skin Soft Blurring Primer. This one I would recommend if your skin is more on the dry side, because it starts out kind of like a glowy serum and you're thinking this isn't gonna do anything, what's happening? But then as it dries down, it just turns into like a soft matte kind of look without being drying, and it does give you that soft kind of blur. This product I did a TikTok on because this just kind of blew my mind when I first tried it. It's the No. 7 Airbrush Away Tinted Skin Perfector. It says satin finish, sheer coverage. I'm gonna link the TikTok down below so you can see in action, but you're gonna be like, what the heck? This is how it goes on, okay? This color. And then this thing is wild, wild, wild. When you blend it out, it just blends into your skin and gives the most insane, just like blurred matte, I think it's more matte than satin, they say satin, kind of finish, where it does cancel out a little bit of redness, but it just really blurs out your face. However, it can be a little bit drying if your skin is already leaning towards the dry side. So I would say if you have oilier skin, you might like this one better. And I have found with certain foundations, this one can be a little bit tricky. I like to use this one if I'm going in with a really glowy, super moisturizing foundation over top, which is typically, you know, what I like to wear. You can also use this one in that way. So it's kind of just depends on your skin type and what you're looking for. This one's definitely more mattifying, but it just softens out your skin. Here's without, here's with. So because of the foundation I'm going to be using today, this one will be better for my skin right now. So I'm going in with the Shiseido, but I'm going to apply this where I did not apply the other primer. And as you can see, it does have a glow when it first goes on. And this consistency is so interesting. It feels like a very lightweight lotion, but then it does fully dry down and give you a completely different kind of finish where it's more soft and less like a lotion feeling. And now you can see when I go like this, there's much less of a glow. So give it about 30 seconds to a minute to really sink into your skin, and you'll see it just kind of transform. If you ever have issues with primers like this, kind of pilling or doing weird things when you put on foundation, you might not be giving it enough time in between. So while that's happening, let's talk about the foundation I'm gonna use. So this is part of the process. If you think you can just stop with the primers, no. Foundation can really make it or break it as far as pores. Some foundations are just more softening over the pores, some really emphasize them. So the foundation you use does make a difference. Can I just say, wow, I think this is gonna be the best video for me to edit because I'm just saying everything on the first go. Usually I have to say things like 10 times because I'm just like stumbling over my words. Words are just coming out right now. It's fantastic. Thank you, mouth. Today I'm gonna use a Too Faced Peach Perfect Comfort Matte Foundation. So this is one of my favorite foundations. I recently talked about it in my best summer foundations video. So of course I filmed this before it was confirmed that the Peach Perfect foundation is being discontinued, of course. But right now it's on major sale on Too Faced website. You can still get it. And here are a couple other options for really similar products that are still available, one drugstore, one high-end. The Essence Pretty Natural Foundation is actually one of my favorites. Highly recommend this one, and it's only $7. But the reason I'm going to be using this foundation today is because it is one of my most just natural looking foundations. It's definitely more of a satin matte finish depending on what you're putting underneath and over top, but it just looks really nice on the pores for that reason. I like to use most often a really glowy foundation because I just overall love the look of glowy skin, but if you already have large pores to begin with, sometimes that can kind of just emphasize them and really bring light, literally, to that area. I find that glowy products on my skin, if they're the right ones, can be the most flattering over textured skin, so like on the rest of my face. but like I said, sometimes it can emphasize your pores. So this is kind of a good medium where it's not glowy at all, but it doesn't emphasize my texture. So I wear the shade Swan. This one is also one of the most transfer proof foundations I've ever found, so it's kind of a 2-in-1 bonus there. And I'm gonna be applying this one today with just my dry Kokie Cosmetics sponge. It's the only sponge I like to use dry. But another tip is to really press your foundation in if you have issues with everything that we're talking about today. Sometimes a sponge can really be the way to go. You can blend your foundation out with a brush first if you want more coverage, and then go in with a sponge and kind of press afterwards. But with this foundation today, I'm just putting it directly on the dry sponge and pressing it into my skin. And this foundation does dry down pretty quickly, so you don't want to go in with your whole face all at once. Work in sections. Okay, so obviously just did the rest of my makeup so I can show you the last couple steps. I will tell you what I used on my face in a second, but now my favorite part. I feel like this makes probably the most difference, and this is just one of my holy grail products. I talked all about this powder in my concealer tips and application video. I'm gonna link that in the eye and down below. This is the Laura Mercier Secret Blurring Powder. It technically says for under eyes, but you can use this for blurring wherever the heck you want. I wouldn't use this one like all over my face with, you know, brush like as an all over kind of powder. This is more just for targeted blurring, I would say. But I have the shade 1, and it is a translucent powder, but it has a bit of a brightening kind of effect. A lot of powders I have will actually darken my face. This one, because it has that slight white tint, will actually help to brighten, and it does a really freaking good job of blurring, which is why I like it for my under eyes. But it also does a killer job blurring out your pores around your nose as well. So the way I like to apply it is by taking my Shop Miss A sponge. I'll link it down below. It's $1. It's amazing for applying powder. It has this really soft kind of texture. It's not like a foundation sponge. So when you apply powder with it, it just gives this really smooth finish. It's almost like using a powder puff. And they do make a loose and a pressed version of this. For this purpose, I definitely like using the pressed version on my skin rather than the loose. And you can do this before you apply your blush and bronzer and everything. I just wanted to get the rest of my face done today, but usually I would do this before I put on my bronzer, so I might have to touch up the blush a bit afterwards in case I get any over there. But I really want you to see how friggin' blurring this is, so hopefully you'll get the effect on camera. And you know, if you get creasing down here, you can bring it down there too if you want. Keep in mind it will brighten a bit. And it just does such a good job of softening and blurring. Let me see if you can see this side versus this side. So now I'm just gonna go back in with my blush brush since it has some product on there and just kind of blend since, you know, it did brighten right there. I'm really hoping the camera is picking this up because in real life, I can definitely see a difference between this side and this side. It just takes it up a notch in the blurring department. In we press. Oh my God, it's so wild. So the last step, this is kind of optional, and when I'm doing my makeup, I always kind of play it by ear with setting spray and kind of look and think what I need, if I want it super dewy, if I just want to kind of set everything and melt everything together without adding a ton of glow. I'll choose different setting sprays depending on that. Like I said earlier, if you add glow everywhere, it can kind of take away from, you know, all the work we just did blurring out the pores and making it look kind of really matte and soft right there. So I'm going to use my Collab Grand Finale 3-in-1 Hydrating Setting Mist. This is glowy. It adds almost, again, like this little veil. So I find this one to be really flattering on the skin, but I'm mostly going to focus this on my forehead because today I don't want a ton of glow in this area of my face. So I'm just going to kind of cover up down here, cover up my lashes. I usually spray setting spray before doing eye makeup, and I'm just gonna focus it right on my forehead. And this setting spray has a super fine mist. I think it's a dupe for the Hourglass Vanish setting spray. It feels and looks exactly the same. So this is the final look. I'm gonna do a little side by side so you can see at the beginning what my face looked like compared to now. Almost forgot to mention, if you want the blurring effect, but you also like more of a glow, you don't want it to be like totally matte, my other favorite is the Tatcha Silk Powder. I mentioned this in a recent favorites video. This is such a unique powder. It's one of the few loose powders I can actually use on my skin. It does have a blurring effect, but it also gives the prettiest glow. It's just the right amount of glow. I can use this one on my forehead, which is rare for me with powder. The makeup on the rest of my face, for eyeshadow, I used my Sigma Ritzy palette. I know I keep using this, but it's just one of my favorites right now. For blush, I used Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk, also one of my favorites. For bronzer, I used Hailey's Beauty 4.25. When I feel like I really want to warm up my face, like my foundation I feel like was looking a little bit light today, I'll go in with this. I didn't put this all over, just in the areas that I normally do like a cream bronzer. Bare Minerals highlighter in the shade Joy. So pretty. If you have issues with highlighter emphasizing your texture, this one just sits really nice and natural on top of the skin. It is very pink, so I like using this one better when I have self tanner on, but if I'm wearing it with my normal shade, I'll just bring it a little bit lower, almost like a blush topper. For lips, I just wanted to keep my lips pretty natural, so I used the Makeup Forever number 10 liner, and then this, I can't put this friggin' thing down, it's the Glossier Lucite. It's almost like a tinted balm. So that is everything. Those are all of my tips and products that I recommend to get a soft, blurred kind of look on your face and around your pores. But I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, you can give it a thumbs up. But I love you guys. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.